A stranger's offer of $10,000 for one night freezes the rancher where he stands as the wind dies around the porch, and even the horses stop moving. He slowly reaches for his gun, not to threaten, but to steady himself, because he feels something darker hiding behind the smile across from him. This is not about money, and he knows it in his bones. It is about respect, love, and a secret that has followed his Apache wife since the day she chose him. The stranger speaks softly, yet every word sounds like a challenge testing how far a man will go to protect what is sacred. Memories rush through the rancher, his vows, the long nights, the silent strength of his wife. Fear and anger mix together while time feels painfully slow. One wrong choice could destroy everything. As his hand tightens, the night holds its breath. The rancher lives a hard but honest life on the open land where every sunrise is earned through sweat and every night ends in silence. He speaks little because the land has taught him that words are weak without actions. Beside him lives his Apache wife, a woman known for her giant strength, calm eyes, and quiet presence that makes even strong men lower their gaze. She does not chase attention, yet respect follows her everywhere. She carries her past like a shadow, but never lets it break her spirit. Their marriage was not born from promises spoken aloud, but from trust built day by day through storms, hunger, and long, lonely nights. He trusts her strength and wisdom while she trusts his loyalty and protection. They understand each other without speaking because their bond was forged by survival, not comfort. From the outside, their ranch looks peaceful, but beneath that calm lies a powerful connection shaped by love, sacrifice, and an unspoken promise to stand together against anything the world sends their way. The calm of the ranch breaks when a wealthy stranger rides in after sunset, wearing fine clothes that do not belong to this land and a smile that carries no warmth. And the moment he dismounts, the air feels heavier, as if the ground itself senses trouble. He looks around slowly, not with curiosity, but ownership, then lets his eyes settle on the rancher and finally on the Apache wife standing quietly near the doorway. And that is when his smile sharpens. He speaks politely, yet every word feels carefully chosen to wound as he praises the land, the cattle, and the strength of the woman beside the rancher. But his respect is false, and his tone drips with arrogance. Without hesitation, he makes his offer $10,000 for one night, as if he is bargaining for livestock instead of a human soul, and the number hangs in the air louder than a gunshot. The rancher feels his chest tighten as anger surges through him, but he does not move, knowing any reaction could turn deadly. The Apache wife remains still, yet something changes in her eyes as pain flashes for a brief second before settling into cold control. The stranger continues, speaking, confident that money can open any door and buy any silence, unaware that he has crossed a line that cannot be repaired. The night grows colder, and even the wind seems to pull back as if refusing to witness such disrespect. The rancher feels the weight of every sacrifice they have made together, every mile survived, every battle endured, and he understands this insult is not aimed at him alone, but at their bond, their history, and the woman who trusted him with her life. The stranger leans closer, lowering his voice, and hints that refusal would have consequences, suggesting he knows secrets buried deep in the wife's past, secrets that could bring danger to their doorstep. Fear creeps in, not for himself, but for her, and the rancher realizes this man did not arrive by accident. The Apache wife finally steps forward, not in anger, but with dignity, her presence commanding silence without a single word spoken, and the stranger hesitates for the first time, sensing strength he cannot measure with money. The rancher watches her and feels pride mixed with sorrow because he knows this moment will change everything. The offer remains unanswered, yet its damage is already done as trust is tested, danger draws closer, and the rancher understands that what happens next will decide whether their quiet life survives or burns under the weight of greed, disrespect, and a secret that refuses to stay buried. The rancher remains silent as the stranger's final words fade into the night, and that silence grows heavier than any threat because inside him anger collides with fear in a way he has never felt before. His jaw tightens while his thoughts race through every mile of land, every fence built by hand, every promise made under open skies, and he realizes this moment demands more than strength because strength alone could destroy everything he is trying to protect. He studies the stranger's posture, the calm confidence, the lack of doubt, and understands this man arrived knowing exactly where to strike. which means the danger standing before him is not sudden but planned. His hand trembles slightly, not from weakness, but from restraint, as he forces himself to breathe and think, knowing a single reckless move could invite violence that would follow them long after this night ends. Fear creeps deeper when he remembers fragments of his wife's past stories, never fully spoken moments she carried alone, and the thought that someone else might use those shadows as weapons sends a sharp pain through his chest. He feels torn between confronting the insult directly or absorbing it to keep her safe. And that choice feels cruel, because either path demands sacrifice. His pride urges him to defend honor openly, while his love warns him that survival sometimes requires silence. He glances toward his wife without turning his head fully, sensing her presence steady and grounded, and that quiet strength reminds him why he must choose carefully. The stranger watches closely, measuring hesitation, mistaking control for weakness, and the rancher knows that perception itself is dangerous. He wonders how far this situation will go if left unchecked, and whether walking away would invite pursuit rather than peace. Memories of past conflicts flash through his mind, battles avoided by wisdom rather than force. Yet this moment feels different because it targets the heart, not the body. His anger burns hot, but controlled, like embers held beneath ash, while fear whispers that this man will not leave empty-handed. He weighs every option, understanding that whatever decision he makes will echo through their lives, and the pressure threatens to break his calm exterior. Still, he stands rooted, choosing patience over impulse, because patience has kept him alive before. The night stretches longer as he realizes this confrontation is not simply about refusing an offer, but about drawing a boundary that defines who he is. With every breath, he steadies himself, accepting that courage does not always roar, and sometimes it speaks through silence. And as he lifts his gaze to meet the stranger's eyes, he knows this is only the beginning of a test that will demand resolve deeper than anger and wisdom stronger than fear. She steps forward calmly, and the movement alone changes the balance of the night, as if the ground recognizes her authority before any voice does. And her presence draws attention away from the stranger and toward a strength that does not need to announce itself. Her eyes meet his without fear, yet within them lives pain shaped by memories she never shared fully, dignity earned through survival, and a quiet power that refuses to bow. She does not speak because she understands words would only give him something to twist, so instead she allows silence to carry her message. The stranger studies her with curiosity that quickly shifts into uncertainty as he senses resistance that money cannot soften. She stands tall, neither aggressive nor submissive, and that calm unsettles him more than anger ever could. The rancher feels her resolve beside him, like an anchor pulling his scattered thoughts into focus. And for the first time since the offer was spoken, he feels less alone. She watches every breath the stranger takes, every shift of weight, every false smile, reading him with the patience of someone who has learned danger announces itself quietly before it strikes. Pain lingers because the insult reached deep, touching wounds formed long before she came to this land. Yet she refuses to let that pain control her actions. Dignity guides her posture, reminding everyone present that she is not an object to be traded, but a person who chose her life and her partner freely. The stranger attempts to speak again, but hesitates, sensing that the power dynamic he assumed no longer exists. Her silence becomes a mirror, forcing him to confront his own intentions without distraction. The night feels heavier, yet clearer, as if truth has stepped into the open. She is not weak and never has been, but her strength was built through endurance rather than force, through watching rather than reacting. She remains alert, understanding that this moment may decide whether threats turn into pursuit or retreat. The rancher notices how she positions herself slightly ahead of him, not to challenge him, but to share the burden, and that gesture deepens his respect and sharpens his resolve. The stranger's confidence fractures as he realizes control has slipped from his grasp, and that secrets lose power when faced with someone unafraid to stand firm. She continues watching, measuring patience against danger, knowing that timing matters as much as courage. In that silence, choices form, unspoken, yet clear, and the air tightens with anticipation. Whatever happens next will not be driven by fear or money, but by a bond that refuses to be broken. And as she holds her ground without a word, the truth becomes undeniable that her quiet strength is the force shaping the path forward. The stranger finally breaks the silence, And when he speaks, his voice loses its smooth tone, revealing something sharp and bitter beneath, as he admits the offer was never about desire or curiosity, but about control and revenge carried across many years. He explains without raising his volume that power comes from reminding people who truly decides their fate, and he hints that the woman's past crossed paths with forces she escaped but never defeated. The Apache wife remains steady, yet her eyes darken as recognition passes through her, confirming that this man represents an old wound she hoped would never reopen. The rancher listens carefully as each word lands heavier than the last, and the true danger becomes clear, because money was only bait and humiliation was only the surface. The stranger reveals that he wants obedience, not acceptance, and fear, not pleasure, believing that breaking dignity is the fastest way to claim victory. The night tightens around them as the rancher understands this threat will not disappear if ignored, because men driven by revenge do not walk away satisfied. He realizes that refusal alone might invite pursuit, while surrender would destroy everything they stand for. The stranger continues calmly, explaining that people like him always return until they get what they want, or until someone proves unmovable, and that truth sends a chill through the rancher's spine. He feels the weight of responsibility press harder, because this moment is no longer personal, but decisive. The Apache wife exhales slowly, showing no panic, yet the pain in her eyes deepens as memories surface of running, standing alone, and choosing survival over surrender. She does not look away because she refuses to shrink again. The rancher sees clearly now that the threat is not only to their safety, but to their future peace, and he knows choices made here will echo beyond this land. The stranger watches closely, waiting for fear to bloom, waiting for control to return, yet it does not. Instead, the rancher's posture changes as understanding replaces confusion and resolve replaces hesitation. He recognizes that this man feeds on dominance, and that denying it is the only language he respects. The air feels charged, as if the land itself listens for the outcome. The stranger's confidence flickers when he realizes his revelation has not produced the submission he expected. The rancher steadies his breath, grounding himself in the bond beside him, and prepares for whatever follows. In that moment, the truth stands exposed, that this confrontation was never about money or temptation, but about drawing a final line between fear and freedom. And the rancher knows with certainty that retreat would only delay the storm, while standing firm may be the only way to end it. The rancher moves with deliberate calm as his hand reaches for his weapon, and the motion carries no anger, only certainty shaped by everything he has endured. And the stranger immediately senses that this moment has shifted beyond negotiation. The metal feels cold yet grounding in the rancher's grip, reminding him that resolve is not born from impulse, but from clarity, and his steady posture sends a message that cannot be misunderstood. He does not raise the weapon in threat, but holds it as a boundary drawn in silence, choosing honor over fear with a strength that surprises even him. The Apache wife steps closer, aligning herself beside him without hesitation, and her presence feels solid, unbreakable, as if she has always known this choice would come. She does not flinch or retreat because she understands this stand is not about violence, but about refusing control. The stranger's expression tightens as confidence drains away, and he realizes intimidation has failed, because what stands before him now is unity rather than hesitation. The rancher feels his heartbeat slow as his mind clears, and every doubt falls away, replaced by the simple truth that protecting dignity sometimes requires drawing a line that cannot be crossed. He speaks calmly, telling the stranger that money holds no power here, and that threats lose meaning when faced with people who will not bend. The land seems to listen as silence stretches and the weight of the decision settles into the ground beneath their feet. The stranger shifts uneasily, recognizing that continuing would invite consequences he cannot predict or control, and for the first time, he looks uncertain. The Apache wife meets his gaze with steady eyes, showing no fear, only finality, and that look carries the force of every challenge she survived before this night. The rancher stands firm, understanding that courage is not the absence of fear, but the refusal to let fear decide, and that clarity steadies him completely. The stranger steps back, slowly reassessing the situation, realizing dominance cannot exist where respect is demanded. The tension lingers thick yet controlled as the rancher holds his ground without advancing or retreating, offering only the chance to leave with pride intact. The wife remains beside him, unyielding, her strength no longer silent, but unmistakable, and together they present a united front that money cannot fracture. In that charged stillness, the turning point becomes clear as the balance of power shifts away from intimidation and toward integrity. The stranger finally understands that revenge has met its limit and that this land belongs to people who choose honor regardless of cost. As the night exhales, the rancher lowers his weapon, not because the danger vanished, but because the message has been delivered. And standing side by side, they know whatever follows will be faced together without fear, without surrender, and without regret. The stranger steps back into the darkness with his pride shattered and his money worthless, realizing too late that power fades when faced with unity. The ranch grows quiet again as his footsteps disappear, leaving behind nothing but the echo of his failure. Under the pale moonlight, the rancher and his wife remain standing side by side, their shadows touching like a single shape carved by trust. No words are needed because everything has already been said through courage and choice. The night air feels lighter, as if the land itself approves of what was defended. The rancher looks at his wife and understands that love is not proven through possession, but through protection and respect. She meets his gaze with calm strength, knowing their bond survived its greatest test. In that still moment, the rancher learns a truth that will guide him forever: that greed may tempt and threaten, but some bonds are beyond price, and once defended with honor, they become unbreakable for a lifetime.